And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Strategy Show. It is Friday, June 13th. Is today Flag Day? Is tomorrow Flag Day? When's Flag Day? Tomorrow. My bad. Happy early Flag Day, everybody. I'm Josh Engleman, here to break down Game 4 of the NBA Finals. OKC, Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers lead this series 2-1, something that I was not totally expecting. But we're here to break it all down. This one's a monster today. So hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Engleman. What's up, everybody? Y'all ready for some basketball today? Because I am. I'm pumped. This is going to be a hell of a game, I hope. Or does it go the same way that it did in our first two? We get the competitive Game 1. We get the clear OKC Game 2. We get the competitive Game 3. What do we get Game 4? We have a lot to talk about. This is a tricky game because I think we need to sunset what we saw on Wednesday and not cloud our judgment. Now, we have projections on the screen right now. Current ownership projections. We're diving right into it. Because I don't have too much to say about Game 3 overall. At this point, we'll hit on individual stuff as we start to talk about everything. I mean, Game 3 was insane. Truly. The Oklahoma City bench didn't really exist. And the Indiana Pacers bench certainly existed. And now today, we're here with a 20% owned Shea at the captain, $13,800. You've got a second most expensive player in Tyrese Halliburton, $2,400 cheaper than SGA, 8% owned. J-Dub, your second most owned captain at 10-2, 16%. And then the only other guy in double digits is Chet Holmgren, 8,200 today, 12% owned in the captain, your third most owned guy. The top 5 guys in ownership on the captain spot today are the 5 best players in this series. All right, Dick Togo. I get what you're trying to ask in this question, but here's the deal. Whether they win or lose, it changes nothing about the way that I evaluate Rick Carlisle. It could not win or lose. The evaluation shouldn't change. That should be meaningless. They're going to play likely at a minimum 6 games in the finals, if not 7. I don't care what the result is. He's just awesome regardless. So there are a couple things I want to touch on for today that are just necessary discussion points. And I think the only place that we can start is TJ McConnell. TJ McConnell is absolutely bonkers in Game 3. It's hard to even describe it because it's not like he played a lot. It's not like he had like an outlier general game. TJ McConnell was 3 for 8 from the field, 4 of 4 from the line, 1 rebound, 5 assists. This all comes down to the fact that TJ McConnell had 5 steals. And not only did he have 5 steals, 3 of them were on inbounds passes, including 2 within 90 seconds of each other. I know everything that I've said about TJ McConnell so far in this series. I don't think that anything that I've said is all that crazy. But this is a guy that played 15 minutes in game 3, and I don't expect him to play all that different of minutes today. Somewhere in the 50, I'd say, you know, like 12 to 17, something in that neighborhood feels about right. I would be flabbergasted if the Oklahoma City Thunder are as like sloppy. I don't even want to say sloppy. A little bit of it was sloppy, but like it's also, I want to give the Pacers most of the credit for the way that they play. It's very hard for me to see TJ McConnell replicate this today. Because let's just start here. 5 steals is an outlier performance in 15 minutes. By a mile. Even if that's 2 in 15 minutes, that's a ridiculous game for TJ McConnell. And those 6 fantasy points matter. I'm terrified of him today. Right now, sitting at 27% ownership, 4,200. You've got a lot of guys on his salary corner, though, now. Hartenstein as your most owned value guy, sub 5K, 4,800. Cason Wallace at 3,800. Toppin at 5K. McConnell at 42. Mathurin at 4K. Then we could talk about Wiggins. Then we can talk about Ben Shepherd. Now, I had some TJ McConnell on Wednesday. Like essentially neutral to the field. For him to replicate that, I have a hard time seeing it after the win. Like in these games, I really do feel like these games, and I don't just mean for like Oklahoma City or Indiana, just like higher level playoff games, you got to ride these waves. And today is not a day that I want to ride the TJ McConnell wave. Game 3 made a ton of sense heading into a home game where he's an exceptional spark plug to a crowd. But like running back a steals, like he needs those steals to be that dude. Tough time seeing it. As of right now, he's not in my 5 biggest stands. He's not in my 5 biggest fades. I'm essentially neutral to TJ McConnell. And I'm fine with that. Because the Pacers could just win today. I didn't think they'd win game 3. I certainly don't think they win game 4. This strikes me as another OKC win. And we go 2-2, but Pacers just keep doing this shit, so who knows. Toppin at 5K to me is actually a little bit more interesting, and that's for a couple reasons. One, I think his minutes are real. Mostly because I think the days of Thomas Bryant are largely over, and I don't think they have any other alternatives. They seem to be willing to live with Obi Toppin as a, center-ish. Not necessarily what I would want to be doing, but I feel way safer with Obi Toppin than I do with TJ McConnell today. We're talking about 2 guys with, by all accounts, the exact same ownership. 27 for McConnell, 28 for Toppin. Those are the same number, clearly. I feel a lot more comfortable with Toppin because he is going to significantly more opportunity. Conceivably can play double the minutes. If you get 13 out of McConnell, I don't think 26 out of Toppin is all that crazy. $800 more expensive, sure. He is going to get the shot opportunities. So if I'm looking at those 2 guys, thinking about the 2 indie pieces, I want much more of Obi Toppin than I do of TJ McConnell. Now, the third guy we need to talk about did get a bit of a price jump. Ended up going all the way up to 4K now. Benedict Mathurin, the hero of Game 3, who Bill Simmons spoke into existence with the exact points and minutes in Game 3 a week before it happened, which is ludicrous. Where do you? I want to check the pulse of chat here. How are you guys feeling about Benedict Mathurin? Because right now, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. He is 14th in overall ownership. Now, if you're asking me if I think that holds, I think that he could very easily just manually, by single lineup people, climbed from 25 to 30. In the same way that I absolutely nailed the Wiggins ownership for Game 3, I expect Benedict Mathurin to be like 5% more than this, just because of like single lineup people that build on their phone and don't pay attention to DFS content. Opportunity is going to exist for Benedict Mathurin. I certainly don't see, like, no one should see 9 of 12, 7 of 8 from the line's fine. 9 of 12 from the field feels tough. But he's not a guy that I want to stand on, and he's not necessarily a guy I want to avoid either. I'm happy that the price has brought him back down to a range where he's not like disproportionately owned. But if I got to rank the bench Pacers dudes that are like real, I am ranking them Toppin, Mathurin, McConnell. And I think there's a pretty sizable gap between Mathurin and Toppin and TJ McConnell. Kennel Smith says, Mathurin looked comfortable. He might have found his groove in this series. Here's the problem with that. He's not that good. And I don't want to undersell it, because the ceiling of Benedict Mathurin is great. It's what you're looking for. Self-creation, quick first step. But this is a guy that barfs up really bad shots all the time. And generally speaking, he's not a good shot maker. But he's willing to take them. And sometimes that's all you need. That's great for DFS situations. His defense will keep him on the floor. He's a terrible defensive player. What are we talking about here? Chan, now that's what we're talking about. He's exceptional at getting to the line. That dude wants to get into the paint, wants to initiate contact, and wants to draw some fouls. 100% agree. Benedict Mathurin's defense will never keep him on the floor. That is the worst thing about him. If his defense was keeping him on the floor, he'd probably start. The person whose defense is keeping them on the floor is the 2K Ben Shepherd, who I truly hate rostering, but ends up being in everything that I do. He is my biggest stand right now as a value play. I'm not happy about that because offensively, he's offensive. But they leaned on him a little bit more in defensive matchups. And at 2K, as a guy that's 10% less owned than Aaron Wiggins at an $800 cheaper price tag, I like the value of Ben Shepherd here, even though I think he is about as untalented of an offensive player as you're going to find in this series. But one, they seem to be slowly trimming the rotation, and he seems to be the guy that they want to go to. Not only is he the kind of the guy that they want to go to, but let's look back at the game flow. Ben Shepherd checked in with Obi Toppin 4 minutes and 25 seconds into the game. And Aaron Nesmith only had one foul, so it's not like it happened because one of these guys grabbed a bunch. They started to grab a bunch later, but Toppin and Shepherd got in there immediately. Now, do I think Ben Shepherd is going to play 18 minutes today? No, probably a couple less than that. And I certainly don't think he's talented offensively. But I don't think he's going anywhere. And that is really appealing to me when he's only 11% owned. I think he's the easiest way to make your lineup more unique if you want value. And then you've got Isaiah Joe sitting there, who's a very curious option. Because Isaiah Joe played a little stint at the end of the first quarter because it really wasn't going well for Wiggins, so they kind of just hot swapped those guys. Then he came back in the second quarter and hit 2 threes in 2 minutes. He didn't see the floor in the second half, and I don't really know why. Like, I get it. When Isaiah Joe is on the floor, he's the only bad defender, and I don't even want to say, well, that's not true. Aaron Wiggins is a bad defender. But when Isaiah Joe is on the floor, he's the guy that at least Indy is going to try to pick on. But I think he could offset that a bit offensively. I'd love to see him get 8 minutes because that shooting is as real as it gets. But it was very surprising to see him come in, do exactly what they want him to do, and still never get any more time. That kind of scares me because I think he's just as likely to not play as he is to be hot and make threes. So I find the Isaiah Joe wild card interesting. I can't really justify Kenrich or J-Dub at this point. They, like, yeah, can they give Kenrich a couple extra minutes? Sure. Is he good offensively? No. Defensively, yeah, that's why he ends up out there. But I mean, we got, what, 2 minutes out of him last time? Probably about what we get this time, if not, upwards of 4 or 5. I want to focus my attention on rolling the dice on Joe and then a bit of Ben Shepherd. Aaron Wiggins is the scary one. And let's be clear here. Aaron Wiggins is sort of the Benedict Mathurin of the Thunder. I mean, no one's going to agree with me when I say this, but Aaron Wiggins is better than Benedict Mathurin. That said, Aaron Wiggins is also, he was bad defensively. And that's going to be the push-pull. Can he hold up defensively to make his offense be worthwhile? That worked quite well in game 2. It did not work well in game 3. And we saw Aaron Wiggins largely get ripped off the floor. That could very easily change. And now he's sort of like the lowest owned guy of the guys getting any real ownership. And what we're seeing here is just what is likely going to be a short memory. Because 2 games ago, you had to have him. Game 1, he was massively owned and useless. Game 2, you had to have him. Game 3, useless. Starting to become a little bit more interesting, but very scary. And that's sort of the scariest part of Oklahoma City. They have enough options that if something's not working, it just doesn't have to work that day. Like, I love Aaron Wiggins in real life. Coach Chris, I don't know if they can do that against the Pacers. I think what we're learning in this series, and even to a degree throughout this playoffs, is you can't play the Pacers the way that you want to play in a series like this. It's too physically exhausting, given the way transition is happening, given the way pressure is happening, that I don't think that you can trim it as much. But I also wouldn't want to trim it. I don't mind trimming guys that shouldn't be out there. But offensively, Aaron Wiggins is really good for his role. Way overqualified for being like the 10th man on a team. Aaron Wiggins is a starter in this league in the grand scheme of things. He just happens to be on an Oklahoma City team that like is an embarrassment of riches. Will we see less Case and Wallace at some point? That right there is a very interesting question, because the lineup combinations seem to be more of an issue than just Case and Wallace. So right here we have all of the lineups that Oklahoma City has played throughout the series, the most of which is the starters: SGA, Dort, Chet, J-Dub, Case, and Wallace. That lineup is plus 15 per 100 possessions in the 73 possessions they've played. They're getting good shots. They're making good shots. The starting lineup has been working. No matter how it feels, in those 73 possessions, they've outscored the Pacers by 10. That's really good. Really, really good. It's not disproportionate shooting or anything. Yes, they're shooting 41.5% from three. Is that a little high? Sure. But then we start looking at some of these other lineups. When we swap out Wallace for Caruso, it's been very negative. But they're also shooting 33% from three in that sample. So I don't want to overreact to that, because they're scoring 25 less points per 100 possessions. But that might just be two made threes. And I certainly don't think that Alex Caruso is somehow like a giant net negative here. If we take a look at this, this has been an interesting negative, if I remember correctly. And I think that I do. Nope, I remember it incorrectly. I could have swore I just saw that. Maybe I'm wrong. The biggest problem so far has been the negative performance when Caruso has been on the floor in their main lineups. But they've also shot 33% in this one and 25% here. That's feels unlikely. Just feels unlikely. I don't think Case and Wallace's minutes have come down. I don't think he's going anywhere. Because they're still finding success in that starting group. I do think we're live to both see double bigs and no bigs today. They haven't run the no big lineup since game 1. They didn't do it in game 2. They didn't do it in game 3. Let's take a look at what it's looked like when they've had the double big on. So far, they've played 22 possessions. They're plus 7 in that time. They've only made 1 3. They are getting perfectly reasonable shots, which is, what you would expect. But in those 10 minutes, they've only given up 68 points per 100 possessions. I've been a big fan of them going to the double bigs. I've been surprised they haven't done it more. I called for it before the series started, and I think it's working when they do it. The one thing that I want to see them do, potentially, is just simply play more Isaiah Hartenstein. He's played 118 possessions so far this series. They're scoring 119.5 points per 100 possessions. It's not outlier shooting. They're at 37.5% from three. But they're plus 10 in the time that Hartenstein has been on the floor. With Chet, without Chet, doesn't matter. That also means that when Isaiah Hartenstein has been on the floor, they're scoring 109 points per 100 possessions. That's a really great defensive performance. Not only that, the Pacers are shooting 41.5% from three when Hartenstein is on the floor. And they're still a below average offense when he's been out there. I think they need more Isaiah Hartenstein. I really do. Whether we get it or not is a completely different question, but to me, I think they need to rely more on this size. That's what I'm hoping. Steven, what do we think of Neesmith's minutes coming down? I mean, he was in pretty sizable foul trouble in spots last time out. Picked up one in that first rotation. Picked up another one right at the beginning of the second quarter. Picked up his third right at the end of the second quarter. And then he picked up 3, obviously, late. But, you know, you expect him in that, like, 28 range is my expectation. I mean, like, at least for game 3, it's pretty hard to take Benedict Mathurin off when he's 5 of 6 in an 8-minute stretch and, you know, scoring 8 more points at the beginning of the fourth quarter. Lou Dort's rating is at 78 out of 100. Rating of what? I can't think of any sentence I've ever seen in chat that has less context than that. Yes, Chet and Hartenstein can always be in the... Chet's 8,200. Isaiah Hartenstein's 4,800. You can play those guys together all day. You can't say. Huh? I mean, you could say it. No one cares. It's not a secret. It's not a real number. It's not anything at all. So, is it 2K rating? Even if it is, obviously that's insane. Obi, what's up? As per usual, I have very little to add on Aaron Nesmith, Andrew Nembhard. I mean, Miles Turner is allegedly sick. Was sick on Wednesday. News came out after the game. It's not like we're ever going to put anything on the injury report during the playoffs. Talk about the most ridiculous situation. We just don't have injury reports anymore. All right, so let's talk through what I like today and what I'm getting to. Right now, my biggest fade is Aaron Nesmith. I'm fine with that. It's got to be somebody. We got to stop saying whatever these ratings are. I couldn't care less. None of it makes any sense. Let's just bag those for a bit, because that might be the dumbest shit I'm reading in chat. I'm a little light on Siakam. I'm a little light on Nembhard. I'm happy to be a little light on the Pacers side. I do have a giant chunk of Benedict Mathurin. I'm clearly getting to Shea more than anybody else. If Shea's ownership at the captain spot really is 21%, that dude's going to be in everything I have. And right now, that's what I'm seeing. He's in 50% of my lineups. And as I look at it, I'm thrilled. I expect Oklahoma City to win. When they win, I expect the MVP of the league to be really good. I want to have a lot of Shea at the captain after that. So he is my most exposed captain. It is not close. The only other guy that I'm getting in a major stand at captain is 10-2 J-Dub. We need this dude to make some shots, man. In this series so far, J-Dub, over like 107 minutes, he is shooting 3 for 11 from 3, 27%. That's not going to get it done. And he is a much better shooter than that. Much better. So at some point in time, you hope that that corrects itself, at least a little bit. And, you know, has he been taking good shots? Yeah, I think he has. 42% effective field goal percentage on 27% usage for J-Dub. He's just got to make more shots. It's as simple as that. And you saw him start to find a bit of rhythm in patches in game 3. He got a little bit more aggressive getting to the rim. I'd like to see... Yeah, there you go. 10 of 17 at the rim. That's 59%. That's about average, but he's getting there. You would think that's opening up more for him. But if he starts knocking down a couple threes, like, let's just assume that by the time this series is over, J-Dub is shooting his just league average. He's shooting 35% from 3. That means the next couple games, he's going to have to make a couple extras. And I have no reason to suspect that J-Dub is not going to start knocking down some of these shots. So he's currently projected for 16% ownership in the captain spot. I have 29. I am hoping that J-Dub is going to have a breakout game today. And we're going to see a couple more of these shots fall. That's the goal. That's the goal for me right now. Because I'm going to have Shea. I'm going to have J-Dub. I mean, Chet was exceptional in the first 6 minutes of the game. He really needs to stop going at Miles Turner, because he dies in that matchup pretty much every time he does it. When Miles Turner meets him at the rim, or Chet tries doing those stupid half spin moves when he gets into the paint, he just swallows him up. If he can stop doing that, it would be great. And it's part of the reason that I want to go to a little bit more Isaiah Hartenstein. And it's not necessarily because like he's better or anything, because he's not. Chet is a much better basketball player than Isaiah Hartenstein. But Isaiah Hartenstein has the strength in that matchup against Turner. If Turner is a little sick, I want to use Isaiah Hartenstein to go into Turner a lot, to the point where my goal is trying to foul up Miles Turner. Because so far, it doesn't seem like Miles Turner has any trouble contesting Chet. And it doesn't seem at all like he's worried about foul trouble when Chet gets in there. He just doesn't have to. Chet can't get through him, so he doesn't have to do it. When Hartenstein bumps him, Turner plays it slightly differently. So I want to see Isaiah Hartenstein out there with Miles Turner a little bit more, which I don't believe they've been doing all that frequently. Let me actually take a look at that. Can I do that actually? I can do that. Fuck yeah. God, I love PvP stats, man. All right, so let's say, how have they, maybe, because I could just be making this up, but it's the way that my brain is working, so I'm going to assume that I'm hopefully right. Hartenstein on, Turner on. How many minutes have we played? 28 minutes with Hartenstein on and Turner on. Now, they've been running essentially neutral in that time. However, they're also shooting 31% from 3 in that 57 possession sample. That's pretty intriguing to me. And they're getting good shots. They're just not making this shit. But in this time, I want Isaiah Hartenstein to go at Miles Turner a lot more than I want Chet to do it. And it feels like they're going to play Isaiah Hartenstein more here. So Isaiah Hartenstein, even though he's 35% owned at 4,800, to me, he's like this is the guy that could have a giant minutes jump that we didn't expect. But if Miles Turner's a little sick, a little off his game, a little tired, slamming into Isaiah Hartenstein is not going to help him. When it's Chet, it's not going to matter as much. But I want to use Isaiah Hartenstein. I want to use it like sort of like an MMA fight with a wrestler, where a wrestler is just going to lean on you and grind on you and make him carry your weight. I want to do that to Turner if his gas tank is compromised. Because the more that you can take Miles Turner out of this game, the easier your ability to score is going to be. Einsteinium, I would be very, very surprised if that happens. If they're going to make a starting lineup change, I think the only change they make is Caruso for Wallace, and I don't think they're doing that. Steven, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right there. To me, it's just, look, you got punched in the face in game 3. Something has to be your change. Now, defensively, the Pacers played this up very, very differently. They took the ball out of Shea's hands. Shea is not an off-ball player, but they were stopping him from bringing the ball up and initiating the first action. That is not what Oklahoma City wants to do. They do not want to be starting like this. So I'm very curious to see what Mark Daigneault changes to try to combat the way that the Pacers guarded him. They started blitzing Shea more in game 3. If I remember correctly, they didn't do it at all in game 1, and it happened like 3 times in game 2. It was significantly more in game 3. I assume that they will have that fixed for game 4. And they will have some sort of different outlet. They were guarding screens very differently when any flat screens were being set at the top on Shea. The way that the Pacers were guarding that was very different. So I'm very interested to see what Mark Daigneault cooks up here as the counters for what Rick Carlisle hit him with in game 3. I think this is a massive game. More than anything, not that anybody cares, but I can't stop talking about basketball. It's too fun. I think this is a massive game for Mark Daigneault. Now, I am not an overreactor to individual stuff, but this is a big spot for him to counter Rick Carlisle. This will tell us a lot about where we're at right now. And I think they're going to have to do something slightly different. Now, whether that's more Hartenstein, whether that's more Joe, I'm not entirely sure. Let me hit you guys with this one, because I haven't asked yet. Who wins? Who wins this game today? I'd ask it as a poll, but there's like 30 of you in here that are talking, so I think we're going to be fine. OKC, OKC, OKC. Okay, Jizzle, here for Indy. Ooh, Stephen Leibowitz going against it and saying Indy. 2-2 going back to OKC. Well, I'll tell you what, if you do think it's OKC, it's probably a good time to bet those guys. Some interesting balance in here, guys. Indy cracked the code. Did they? Did they? I mean, it's another game. It's another spot where nobody led by double digits. OKC's still young. So are the Pacers. Okay. Look, we got to have a conversation about what we're seeing here. Do they really look off? Like, from an evaluation standpoint, we need to remember what happened in game 3. Because 5 TJ McConnell steals are really important. And that really changes the tenor of the game. That kind of stuff isn't happening again. It just isn't. I mean, we can do this the real easy way if we want. Let me put Topic off so I can get all of it. But like, for the series, it's still positive to OKC. I'm a little intrigued by all of this. OKC need Durant. Well, you know, they can't get him at this point, and they shouldn't. So, look, you don't got to tell me they need another shot creator. I screamed that from the rooftops in February. I mean, look, when I say no to KD, I mean, obviously it doesn't matter for right now, but look, you always want better players. It's all about what they cost. Ivan, in what way? I'm open to hear this, but in what way? He's a game changer in every game. Is he? I mean, you know what? I agree, but not the way that you're going to say. Because when he's a game changer for Indy, that's great. He's also a game changer for Oklahoma City, because when that's not it, he's awful on defense. I agree he's a game changer, but it's equally as positive as it is negative. He's played 110 possessions. They're -7.5 with TJ on the floor, and they get whatever look they want when they're out there. They've scored 121 points per 100 possessions with TJ McConnell on the floor. If he's not the ultimate irritant, if they're not barfing the ball up all over the floor, generally speaking, it's not going to go well. If he's not doing exactly what he did in game 3, he will be a negative for the Pacers. But when it catches everything. Everybody in the arena feels it. Everybody on the team feels it. The positive is real. I don't want to discredit it. But that's a thing that you can't just turn on and off. If the Pacers just take a beat, or if the Thunder just take a beat and inbound the ball like a normal person, and TJ McConnell finishes with 2 steals, that entire game is different. And we just can't expect him to have 1 steal every 3 minutes. When it's going, man. Like, he has the ability to change the entire vibe of the arena when he's out there. But the opposite side of that is equal to the top end of it. If Indy wins, is the series over? No, not even close. Thunder still have 2 games at home. I mean, the line, like the Pacers would be favored in the series at that point in time, but it wouldn't be by a lot. I'm so pumped to watch this game. Speaking of watching this game, tonight you'll have live before lock at some time that I don't know. I don't remember if this is 8 or 8:30. Game's at 8:30. I'll be live tonight at 8 p.m. for live before lock on this YouTube channel. So make sure you're liking and subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you don't miss the show. And then Right after the show, live on Playback, I will be here watching the entire game with you guys. Playback.tv/Stokastic. You could link up an account, watch the game along with us. You can grab a VIP pass. I've got 20 of those to hand out. You could watch the game with me, or you could just hear me call the game for the entire time. You'll also get an MLB show immediately after this. In the next 15 minutes, Laffy will be live for the MLB strategy show. And then keep your eyes peeled for the perfect lineup. New MLB video from myself and Laffy. He wasn't able to do it yesterday. He'll be back for today, where we're giving out the top 2 pitchers and our favorite stack, handing out free MLB subs to anybody that picked the right stack. Well, not anybody, to one of the people that picked out the top stack from the day before. Got MLB promo codes for you guys if you're watching it, so make sure you check it out. Aaron, I appreciate that. Here's my question. Daniel says, here's my question. What does Indy do or go to when neither Mathurin or TJ are working? Indy doesn't really love playing Obi more than 20 minutes. I mean, they're absolutely going to play Obi Toppin more than 20 minutes. His minutes are going up, not down in this series. Played 28 last time out, 25 in game 1, 25 in the final game against the Knicks. They're not going to play Thomas Bryant anymore. So Obi Toppin's minutes aren't going anywhere. But where does Indy go if it's not working for Mathurin or TJ? They don't go anywhere. They don't have anywhere else to go. They just lose. Or the starters go insane. That could also happen, I guess. But yeah, they don't have anywhere else to go. But Obi Toppin's not going anywhere. That dude's playing 20 plus minutes today unless this is an absolute tire fire. Because they don't want to play Thomas Bryant anymore, because Thomas Bryant's Thomas Bryant. Turner, Siakam, Nembhard, Halliburton, Nesmith, -10 in 88 possessions so far. That's the starting lineup. When they swap in Toppin for Siakam, they're actually +18 in 19 possessions, but clearly we don't expect them to get rid of Siakam for old Obi. Do you think the Pacers should keep Turner inside or outside more on offense? I mean, the only answer is outside. There's not really any reason to keep Miles Turner inside. That's not his bag. If Turner isn't 100%, who benefits? The Thunder. Everybody on the Thunder. And Obi Toppin, I guess. But yeah, the entire Thunder team, if Turner's not 100%. That's a massive, massive, massive thing. But no, the Game 4 of the finals is not where you want to go to like Miles Turner post-ups. I think you're going to run into some trouble. Can Halliburton do it again? Do what again? Has he even done it in this series? I know we're going to get a lot of... He had 22, 11, and 9 last time out, but... Could he do it again? Sure. I mean, we haven't had an outlier Tyrese Halliburton game. Look, it's hard for Tyrese Halliburton to have an outlier game in this series. It just is. One, it's as hard of a defensive matchup as he's ever going to get. And two, he doesn't want it like that. Do I think that, you know, like... He's a 22, 23% usage guy. Do I think that he needs to be like 25 or 26? Because that floater was looking pretty nice in game 3. He's got to look for that a little bit more. Yeah, hasn't taken a free throw yet this series. It's just not what he's looking for. It's just not what he's looking for. That said, I'm about neutral to Halliburton. We got a lot more to talk about throughout the day. I'm going to build a lineup quickly just to see what it looks like, and then we're going to dip on out of here so you guys can go watch the MLB strategy show. I'm not building one for FanDuel, so don't ask. We're going to build one for DraftKings, and then we're going to get out of here. At the captain spot, I kind of want to do either J-Dub or Chet here, but I just think I'm going to end up giving up too many fantasy points. So let's go J-Dub, SGA, Isaiah Hartenstein, Ben Shepherd, and I complete with Neesmith and Chet, and it leaves 100 on the table. Okay. I expect this is going to be positive. Well, it is positive, which is nice. I don't want Chet in there because of the ownership. So let me pull those two guys. I guess I'll pull Ben Shepherd too, even though I love the value. I just don't want to end up with Thomas Bryant. Actually, what happens if I go Joe instead of Shepherd? Does that change those two? Gives me Neesmith and Chet, but leaves more money. I want to see if that's any different. Yeah, -8. I'm not surprised there. Joe is not as good. So I want a slightly different combination than Neesmith, Chet. So who can I get from the Pacers? I don't want you know what? I don't actually mind Mathurin there. If I take Mathurin, the final two guys end up being Wallace and Chet. 100 on the table. What does that look like? There it is. We found the gem. J-Dub captain. 5-1 OKC with SGA, Chet, Hartenstein, Wallace, and the hero of game 3, Benedict Mathurin. We're going to leave on that note. 7 minutes from now, Lofty will be live for the MLB strategy show, big MLB slate on a Friday as per usual. Make sure you're checking it out, and then keep your eyes peeled later tonight. I'll be live for, I don't know, 3.5 straight hours, either breaking this game down or watching the game along with you guys. Thank you for being here. Hit the like button on your way out the door. I appreciate you guys a ton. Go Oklahoma City. Look, all I want is more basketball. I don't want this season to go away. So let's get a dub here for the Thunder, everybody. I'll talk to you guys later.